right, everyone. Happy Monday. Thank you all for joining us for another great conversation today. I look forward to being able to bring up this incredible guest and have you learn about her journey. But before we do get into it, folks, wanted to welcome a couple of people that are coming in here. We have Ayash, Zachary, and I know there are other people that are trickling in as well too. But LinkedIn doesn't always show me all the people here, but I do know that you're here. And before we do get going, I'd like to mention that nothing that we discuss here today is considered as financial advice. I'm not the person for that, but nonetheless, I like to bring up some interesting conversations here. And the views and all the stuff that we do talk about, they are of our own. They do not necessarily represent the organization that we work for, respectively. And last but not least, this is a safe space. There are no stupid questions, and I want to make sure that everyone is welcomed here. And if it's anything that's probably a little bit too controversial for a family dinner during the holidays, we'll avoid that here. But we are all adults, and I love to talk about interesting topics. So without further ado, I am not going to introduce you, but I would love for you to introduce us. Welcome to the show today.
Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm V. I am excited to be part of this podcast, and I have to be honest with you, this is my very first podcast. Yes, believe it or not, it is my first. I come from Europe, and so in Europe, we don't have that Twitter thing or X thing that you call. So we don't use that too much. So I grew up really being on Facebook, and Facebook wasn't really the place of like podcast. So I didn't really do any, but I'm excited to do that, and I think I've come to stage in my life where I'm ready to share my knowledge, my experience, and I'm ready to uplift other people with it. So here I am. This is me. On a career side, I guess I'm an OG crypto believer, investor, whatever you want to call. I bought my first crypto BTC back in 2012. Gosh, I feel like a dinosaur now. On eBay, believe it or not, didn't get scammed, believe it or not. And since then, I, invested regularly into the space and followed it. And um, believe it or not, never sold anything, will never sell anything. This is going to be my legacy to my children. And I've had the privilege of seeing, all the good, bad, ugly aspects to this market. And it's an exciting journey, to say the least. And I've been involved with different companies inside Web3, outside Web3 as well. I helped a ton of companies raising capital, getting from a startup state to an accomplished, successful, multi-million dollar company. And the latest one was and is Pudgy Penguins, that hopefully everybody knows by now. That will mean I've done a good job. And I took this company, or I joined the company when they needed to raise capital, and it was a very, very bearish market, especially for a company that was doing NFTs. So it was very difficult, but we managed to do it. And now Pudgy Penguin is part of the history of Web3 and keeping on pushing the envelope to push our space and close the gap between Web2 and Web3. So this
Yes.
is a little bit about me. I hope I
It's
did a good job.
it's fantastic. That is a wonderful introduction. And one of the things that I want to talk about is, you started back in 2012 and now your crypto journey has spanned significant changes. And looking back at that time, what do you think has probably surprised you the most about the industry's evolution, and how is that really kind of helping shape your vision for the future?
What surprised me the most? Oh gosh, where to start? I
I
mean,
know there's so much that we can talk about.
so many, so many things, honestly. But I think the one thing that I'd say I'm surprised and positively surprised is how quickly the companies have been able to adapt to this shift,
Mm,
and our government today, and even like other governments throughout the world, have been able to adapt and really support and encourage this market, Web3. So there is a lot of things that is being done to like provide grants, for example, for companies in Web3.
mm,
There's a lot, and it's been a lot of investment from VCs into Web3, things like that. And, I see that as the same thing that happened with the internet as well. But I've been very surprised because as opposed to the internet was fast but slower than Web3.
yeah.
So I've seen capital flowing into Web3 much faster and in a much bigger way than it was the case for the internet. So in that sense, I'm happy to see that humans in general are less reluctant to change and are more ready to embrace change, however it comes.
Yeah. So let's go back in time a bit here and talk about, what are some of the things that you were doing previous to professionally working in the space. And you had mentioned also too that, you bought your first Bitcoin back in 2012. And what was it about that white paper that really sparked something in you? And what moment did it feel like this is where you would want to pursue a professional career?
So the way I came across the white paper was through a classmate. Um, I was studying economics, financial markets, among other things, business as well. And one of my friends came up to me one day and was like, "Okay, well, if you are, you know, planning on having a career in finance in any shape or form, you should have a read at that.
Mm,
Because if that's going to happen, if what they, you know, they have written in this white paper is going to happen eventually, it's going to change your entire industry." And bear in mind, that wasn't even someone that had in mind to work in finance like I had in mind.
yeah.
So they, even not planning on working in finance, they were impacted by this white paper. So I thought to myself, well, if they are impacted, I should probably, give it a read. And really, for me, what was striking is working and having, my first experiences in traditional finance. And bear in mind, I was working in the hedge fund industry, so like hardcore finance. um, I just thought to myself, well, it is a utopian idea. Like, this is very utopian, and for like us to move forward with, adopting blockchain and using crypto, move away from, traditional the traditional financial structure that we know and has been the blueprint for our society for decades. It's gonna have to, come in waves. But if it does come, I want to be part of it. And for me, the idea of being able to have blockchain and use crypto and just made sense, because our traditional financial structure is so corrupt
Mm,
and is so broken. And I am half French, right? So I guess my cultural background, I've been raised by, my parents, thinking we should all have a fair chance
yeah.
to life, and we should all be on the same level. And yes, some people will make more money, some will make less money, but at least I want everybody to have the same chance. And this, like blockchain and crypto, was really a shot that our generation had to make things right
Mm,
finally, and not rely on banks and not rely on big institutions to tell us what to do with our money, and how to shape the future of this society. So that's really why I got in the first place.
that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And lead us up to as well the first introduction to Pudgy Penguins and how that all came about, and really, taking what you've learned from your traditional background and working in hedge funds and really being able to help this organization get through some challenging times and become the success they are today.
Oh, yes. Pudgy is an amazing story, and I'm so proud and so grateful for being part of the being part of this company and making history for Web3 here. So the way I got involved is I've created a decade ago my own consulting firm, right? So what I've been focusing on when I left the hedge fund corporate world was, okay, I want to do something to help companies, startups that have a great idea, a great team, but just need capital. And God knows it's hard to ask for money. And coming from, you know, my background where I was raised with the idea of you should never ask for money because that's shameful and it's dirty, and
Mm.
even the word money is dirty. It was really hard for me. But I thought to myself, well, okay, there are some people out there that are doing something or are trying to do something good. And need help. And I want to be that person that can help them. So I created my own consulting firm, and I had worked on one of the startups that I helped with. I'd work on with Peter, who is the most amazing chief creative officer, um, absolutely brilliant at what he does, and basically bought Pudgy Penguins over with along with Luca and Lorenzo, who are the three main owners of Pudgy. So they put capital together to buy the company, and basically they thought to themselves, well, it's time for us to raise capital. They needed capital to get the company to the next level. And so naively, like, and I'm not blaming them because that's what most people believe, they thought that it would be easy to raise capital because why not, right? You have a good team, you have a good company, you
Yeah.
have a good mission, you know exactly where you're heading. It should be easy. But the truth of the matter is that it's not that easy,
Yeah.
because you have to have the connections, you have to speak the same language of as investors, you have to know who to reach out to, how to present yourself, and so on and so forth. So it's a very, very, very hard game. And so after a few, I think it was a couple of months, them trying by themselves to raise capital, they gave up because they couldn't raise any capital. So Peter came to me because we had worked together and he had seen how I'm, I'm an absolute beast. Oh, not beast, but I'm very determined. When I
Yeah.
believe in a team and a project, there's nothing that can stop me raising capital for a team. So came to me and he was like, V, look, we have this amazing company, and I know you're busy with other things, but please, can you just come help us raise some capital, and then we'll do the rest, and then after that you can leave. I was like, okay, look, let me talk to the CEO, let me see what the company is about, and time wise it makes sense because at that point I had been looking at getting involved with an NFT company because I had seen NFTs as very an very interesting trend and very interesting movement to me, something that really made sense in our world. So I wanted to get involved with a project. So I talked to Luca, who is the CEO, and very outspoken and an amazing genius. And I spoke to Luca, and all like when he went through the mission for Pudgy, what he had in mind, the long term goals, and his like vision for the company, it just made sense. It resonated. That was exactly what I was thinking about when I was looking at NFT companies, which was, I want to flip the narrative. I want to change the business model that we've been raised with, which is, I have a company, I'm going to make money, and then my consumers or customers are going to help me make money, but they're not going to take any part of it. Like
Yeah.
they're not going to get anything out of it. For me, being very much a people person, I want everybody to win. I thought this is silly. This is silly. If you look at a Disney, for example, like Disney sells dream, it sells hope,
Mm.
it sells, an ideal, like a perfect world, like paradise, and that's why it's so successful. But then if it does that, why all the people that are, like big fans of Mickey Mouse, for example, why can't I just give them something back for not only buying a Mickey Mouse plush, for example, but also encouraging their loved ones to buy a Mickey Mouse plush? For me, it just didn't make sense. And so when Lucas spoke to me about rethinking that business model and flipping the narrative, and now what we have with NFTs is like making our holders taking part in the growth and the success of the company, whether it's like through um, through there are many ways. So I don't want to go into too much details because this is something still that is confidential, unfortunately. So I can't really talk about that. But having a genuine ownership
Yeah.
to into the profit, and or use the holders' influence into the company, making decisions about the growth, about the future, and things like that. Just like made more sense. You get people that are so much more committed and involved into the company, into the growth of the company. So for me, that just made sense. So I got in, and it's so funny thinking about it now. But back in the time, we were looking into raising 2.5, right? Because bear in mind, it was a tough market. It was
Yes.
full bear market, NFT were going down. We had FTX happening. We had the SEC investigating into Yuga Labs. It was very bad. People didn't want to look at NFTs for investment at all. And then, 6 months after joining the team, I raised a little bit over 9 million in total, and I had to say no to more capital. And that was through my connections, the investors that I've known for a long time, like people that have known me and who I made a lot of money for. And so people just joined for different reasons. First, because they knew me and believed in me, right? They were previous investors of mine. And then the second thing was, which was, most prominent, was the mission of Pudgy,
Yeah.
the mission of genuine ownership, but also bridging Web3 and Web2, which is the biggest obstacle to crypto today, and Web3. So this is how I joined, and since then, closed a couple of rounds, and now I've been involved into the business development side of it. So that has been also a very, very, very interesting journey. So I don't want to go on too much. So stop me, because I can talk forever
I
about.
know. No, this is amazing, and I really appreciate you sharing this. I mean, this story is one that's not often told, right? And I really appreciate you bringing us into the world that you've been able to create. And what I wanted to talk about, V, was that back in those earlier days of crypto, and then even kind of getting Pudgy to where they are, did it feel more like an adventure or navigating uncharted waters with no compass? And really help us understand, because I think this is something that many people can apply for wherever they are, whatever they are trying to do in any capacity of business. But how did
Yeah.
you build some of those incredible connections with others in the space back then that may not have been in your circle of influence?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you straight and no filter here.
All right.
It felt it felt like navigating into complete darkness.
Mm.
And I'm not saying that just during the my early days with Pudgy, right? But I'm also saying that in my early days with crypto, it felt like, okay, so this is completely new. There's no road, there's no path that has been built. There is nothing to this world. The only thing that I have that I'm holding on to is a hope, right? There's
Yeah.
only hope that this, like this blockchain thing or this crypto thing, which back in the day was just an idea, right? So this idea is going to come to fruition, right? And us as a community, we're going to put the pieces together in the right place, in the right order to make things happen, to make this vision, this idea a reality. So really, pretty much, it was navigating into complete darkness with that teeny tiny, you know, little beat of light at the end of the tunnel. That was the idea, the mission, the vision, the hope we have for this thing called blockchain and crypto. And I think, you know, it's nice that, taking that back to startups and people in general, like in general, whether it's Web3, whether it's Web2, whether it's crypto, whether you yourself are starting a startup or you have an idea in your mind and you don't know if you should, start working on it or not, because who knows, so many risks, right? What if
Yeah.
you wasting your time? What if it doesn't work out? All those people out there, I really want to say it's okay. That's how you're supposed to feel. Like, if it's dark and unknown, this is how it's supposed to be, because that means that you're going to be building your own path. And that means that you're going down the road of innovation.
Yes.
And innovation is scary and is a dark place. But that's also where you can make, a world difference. Be the trailblazer, light up your own, torch and lead the path. Whether, again, like whether it's your own startup, your own idea, whether it's you maybe thinking about investing in crypto. And again, this is no financial advice,
Of
right?
course.
But whether you like thinking about getting involved into the Web3 crypto space, blockchain space, if you have an idea and really you're passionate about it, right? There's this thing that you get obsessed about and you can't stop thinking about, then give it a try. Give it a try. So sorry, I'm taking taking so long to answer your question, Trevor, but it was a very dark place. Like, honestly, it was a dark place, and especially at the beginning. And to go back to your question, how did you, create your team, your crew, the people that believed in this crazy crypto idea, blockchain idea back in 2012, back in 2013, back in 2015, even, right?
Yeah.
You have to find ways. Okay, so I'm going to sound, again, very old here, but back in the days, what I used to find my peers is I used this, which I think it still exists today. I use this app called Meetup.
Meetup. All right.
And
Nice.
yeah, and so I don't know if that's still a thing
I think it
today.
is.
People still
Yeah.
use it, right? But really, it's free. Anybody can go on there, and there was those, physical or even online meetups, and you can pick the meetups according to your interest. And back then, they were very few and far in betweens, but we had crypto and blockchain meetups, and that's how I got to get involved with, going to, small gatherings where it was almost like, oh gosh, secretive, and who are those outlaws, and what the hell are they talking about crypto? What is that? Bitcoin, BTC, what is that?
Yeah.
Right? But you get to put yourself in an environment that where you feel understood and
Yes.
heard, because now you're speaking to peers or people that see the same vision, understand what lights up your torch, and the same thing that lights up your torch is lighting up their torch, right? And so now you can walk on that path together. And now that makes more light for the path, right? And so now you can see yourself going further and for longer. And so that's the things that I use. Meetup, I use that, and then one thing leads to another. You have friends, and then friends introduce you to other friends, and then honestly, LinkedIn was also a very good
Yeah.
tool. um Less in the early days, but after 2015, 2017, like I was really using LinkedIn a lot to just send a message to people saying, hey, I've seen you also involved in crypto, would love to pick your brain, what do you think the future is, blah blah blah. And just ask, and you'll be surprised. People are always excited to speak about things they're passionate about.
Yeah, no,
So
that's really
that's
true.
that's how it goes.
And it's interesting as well too because we've actually chatted a couple of times before our conversation today, and it's amazing how much has changed since our first conversation to now. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, right, is that when you were in this space in the earlier days and really kind of forming your circle in your tribe, I'm sure that, you were called crazy or you were considered to be an outlier for believing in crypto. And that must have been pretty tough, right? I think that a lot of people are
Oh
even
yeah.
still dealing with that are newer in the space. And, that's something personally that I've dealt with as well. So how did you, V, stay motivated when the mainstream wasn't on board? And the second part of that is that now that they're starting to catch up, do you feel vindicated at all?
That's a very good question. That's an amazing question. And please stop me because I feel like I can go on and on for that,
No, this is beautiful.
about
Thank you
that
so much.
question.
Thank
But
you so much for sharing.
thank you for allowing me to share. And I hope that really, really helps people out there, even if it's one person, but I hope it's going to help. Um, Look, to answer your first question, right? How do you stay motivated? I think there's no one size fit all, right? You have to find your own thing. What makes you stay motivated? For me, one thing that, and God knows that, and honestly, up until 2015, even not even 2015, because that was the release of ETH. There was like a huge inflow of people in the space at
Yeah.
that point with ETH, but still, um, Ethereum, but still, that was like still uphill battle. I think 2017, you started seeing the first big wave of massive adoption, and then 2021 obviously, but until 2017, I think it was really like, yeah, how do you not doubt yourself, and how do you keep holding on to what you felt the first time you read the white paper, or what you felt the first time you heard about crypto and you thought, this is genius, like this
Yeah.
is going to change the world, or blockchain. um, for me, what works is every time I had doubts, and again, God knows I had them because I was, I've been a little bit crazy on this crypto journey, right? I didn't do any podcasts, but God knows every time that I had someone in front of me that wanted to know more about blockchain or crypto, I was on and on and on, and like I felt like it was my duty
Yes.
to educate them, and at least, even if they don't believe in it, that's fine, but at least give them the tools to understand whether they choose to go down that rabbit hole or not, right? So I've been trying, and for me, what really worked in those dark days when I doubted is going back to my roots, going back to the base, like thinking about what made me passionate about it, what lit my fire for crypto in the first place. And whether it was like rereading Satoshi's white paper, or like going back into reading news, good news, like positive news, when it would come up about Bitcoin, or like a big well did a big investment, or maybe it was like Starbucks incorporating crypto into the payment methods, like all those tiny bits of positive news about the industry, I would reread that just to put me back into that mindset of, yes, I do remember why I got involved into this in the first place. So that was what worked for me. And obviously now I don't even need that, because finally, thank God, the world, as, or at least, a, a big chunk of the world has opened their minds to the idea of crypto and Web3. So that's good. Um, and sorry, what was the second question? The follow up question to that?
Yeah, I mean, do you
Oh,
feel?
if I get bitter.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes. That's a great question. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The short answer to that question is no, right? Long term, no. I didn't get bitter, though I have to say, did I get frustrated?
yeah.
Did I get irritated? Did I get mad? Absolutely. And as you can tell by my voice, I'm a very passionate person. So if I hear, or like people will come back to me saying this is BS, like this is completely rubbish, Bitcoin is just a scam, and I've heard that from many,
So
even
many
like
times, yeah.
institutional investors, like people that you respect, and hearing that from them, oh, Bitcoin is a it is in blah, sorry, Bitcoin is a scam, that hurt, because then you just crush down my beliefs.
Mm,
And yes, I was frustrated, but then bitter about it, no, because I feel like you always have to try to put yourself in the person's shoes,
yeah.
and you have to understand that they work with their own beliefs.
Yes.
And if their belief is, okay, the only time I can make money for my company is through traditional ways, traditional finance, then yes, they're probably gonna come up with ideas or like reasons why Bitcoin is a scam, right? So always try to understand the other person. So no, I didn't get bitter, but I got frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely is that way, and I feel it's really interesting now, and I know that we had a conversation, and even since we first chatted to now, the amount of attention that is coming from the institutions joining the space, right? I don't know, and I'm not going to be bold enough to say that crypto is quote unquote going mainstream, and I don't know if we're in a bull market, whatever that may be, but it's definitely starting to get more attention and it's starting to be a part of the conversation. So, how do you really kind of see this evolution playing out, with the more institutions that are coming in and people that were once harsh, negative critics are people that only highlighted the negative parts of our industry that are now all on board and it's all positivity and it seems as if nothing can go wrong. What are your thoughts on that?
So I'm gonna follow your lead, Trevor, and I'm not gonna name names, right? But we can all think about that wealth management, massive wealth management company. Um, the CEO of that company a few years back completely, completely dashed crypto and Bitcoin, claiming it was a scam, and
Yeah.
everybody that would invest in it is just a Ponzi scheme, and they're idiots and it's stupid. And we all know who that person is, right? And I'm not villainizing that person in particular. I do believe they come with, again, their own set of beliefs and their own set of goals, right? But now, if we look at the same company and the same person, they've done a complete uh, 190 turn, and now they're one of the biggest investors in Bitcoin. At least who is putting a lot of injecting a lot of capital, they will be one of the top three.
Yeah.
Um, how do I look at them? I look at them as opportunistics,
Yes.
right? I mean, and that's what they are, and that's what they made money of, right? And yes, of course, I mean, if you used to make money out of traditional finance and just like wealth management and investing in stocks and bonds and like, traditional assets, and now you have this brand new asset and you can see that it has huge potential and you can 10x your returns, of course you're going to look at it. And of course you're going to, you know, diversify your portfolio and put a little bit of equity in it and things like that. Um, I don't think, though I see them as, you know, opportunistic people, entities, um, I still believe it's a good thing for the industry.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have my personal opinion about that, about them. Do I like those people on a personal level? Probably. Like I probably wouldn't be friends with them. But is it helping and moving the industry as a whole? Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll welcome them. Yes. Do whatever you, or like say whatever you need to say to pretend that you're doing that for the good. That's fine. We all know why they're doing that. At the end of the day, it's helping us, it's helping the industry, it's helping, democratizing blockchain and making things more transparent and making things more fair for people, whether they live in, in a very precarious and poor situation in south of Africa, or whether, it's we wealthy, someone wealthy in America here. So as long as it's helping, it's good. But again, there's a double-edged sword to that, right? They're helping, but they also like there's also market manipulation, and you don't want to fall into that.
Yeah.
Um, so, and which is something that unfortunately, because they're so big, it, there might be a risk. So you that makes harder for the small retail investors or the people that just join the industry because they believe in it, like myself, for example, that have smaller, wallets and portfolio of crypto. That makes us more vulnerable. That makes our money, or investment, more vulnerable to their moves, unfortunately. So
I
yeah,
think,
it's a
I mean,
double-edged sword.
and it's interesting because, it really is bringing more attention to it, but by what means, right? And I think that a lot of people have to understand as well too that when you're looking at this from anyone as an individual, as a person, right? They're innately somewhat trying to do things that are in their best interest, right? So a lot
Right.
of this information and a lot of this technology is extremely disruptive. And if you've been a part of the old guard and someone is coming in and trying to create these ideas and this utopian vision and bring, access to financial markets and democratization, I mean, it can be somewhat intimidating, right? So I think that, as you mentioned before, V, and you said this so beautifully, putting yourself in the other person's shoes and trying to understand conceptually where they're coming from, right? It may not look as such of a quote unquote bad thing. And I've gotten to the point where I don't even look at it as good or bad. I think it's very situational. So, that's beautifully put by you. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of share here, and I know that our time is almost running out, and I will open it up to questions if we do have any brave souls in the audience that are listening. But if for folks that would rather just kind of take in this knowledge, that's beautiful, and we will be getting this full episode uploaded in the near future. But if you could go back to 2012 and give yourself one piece of advice, or even some more than one piece of advice about your journey, what would it be, and would you do anything differently if you were given the opportunity to?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question, Trevor. Your questions are amazing. Um, it's gonna sound, it's gonna sound silly, but honestly, if I could talk to my younger self back in 2012, I would say, believe in yourself, believe
Mm.
in your gut feeling more, because then I would have invested more. into crypto, right? And unfortunately, that's it comes back to what we were saying before, right? I mean, you let people influence you, you listen to others, and then I was listening and I was trying to convince other people, and they were saying to me, "You crazy? What is that? Like, what are you talking about?" They didn't understand, and but that impacted my own certainties, right?
Yeah.
Then it made me feel like, oh, maybe they're right. I mean, yeah, maybe I'm crazy. Yeah, I'm instead of investing, let's say 100. I'm gonna just invest $20 because you never know. So that's what, if I could change anything, I would say to myself, believe in yourself and
Mm,
don't let anybody, you know, change your mind about what you believe deep down. Listen to your gut. Your gut is there to steer you the right way. It's never going to go against you. So listen to it. So that's what I would do.
I love that. I love that. And that is sage advice for sure. Now, you've also been explaining crypto to people for years, and whether it's newbies or these seasoned professionals, what's the toughest part about making this complex world accessible, and not only just with blockchain in general, but even trying to explain a concept like pudgy penguins and what you've been able to do, and really what keeps you coming back to continue to help people understand?
I think that the tricky part is, as you said, like explaining things that are complex, because at the end of the day, blockchain, crypto is a complex concept for most people. Um, Trying to explain that in simple terms. And I feel I've been struggling with that because because I come from, I'm an OG crypto. For me, using like OG terms is just like it's natural, right?
Yeah,
So, but if I use OG terms, most of the people I talk to, which are just people, not coming from Web 3 but coming from Web 2, they're not going to understand. So I like to think about Einstein, Albert Einstein. Sorry if I mispronounce it in English. I just my French accent is coming back. But he used to say, if you can't explain a concept simply, that means you don't understand it
absolutely.
well enough.
Yeah.
And I think I've been struggling with that, and it was like really a big work that I did for a long time. How do I break it down into terms that are simple for people to understand? And with time, you talk to people and you see what make them click, what make them, oh yes, now I understand, like that reaction. And then you pick up on that, and then you put things together, and then you make it simple for the mass. So I learned it this way, and really continuous challenges, make it simple. Whatever you try to explain, or whatever you try to convince people of, like make it simple enough for them to don't make them feel like they're not smart. That's because then you're never gonna get your point across. um so that has been, sorry, I missed the second part of your question, Trevor.
No, that's fine. I think that we can wrap it up there because we're almost out of time, V, and this is absolutely amazing. I've had such a pleasure being able to converse with you again. And like I said, we've chatted a few times here, but actually letting the world get an opportunity to hear you speak, it's just very beautiful. And, I think that speaking to someone that just shares an immense passion for this industry and the potential of where we can go is fascinating. And like you mentioned, right, if you're not educating people, then at the end of the day, what value are you truly bringing to the community? And maybe we can talk a little bit about that because we've seen some challenges. There are strengths and challenges that come in this industry, but when it comes to community, and community is obviously something that is really important with Pudgy and the incredible success that you had. And I do have a follow-up question about success that we'll get chat about a little bit later. But, where do you see some of the biggest opportunities for improvement when it comes to the community overall and being able to build a better community?
Mm, that's such that's a great question, especially when it comes to Web3, because this entire space is based on community. I mean, this started as a community, right? It started with a few crazy people believing in crypto, and then it grew from there. So the entire birth of this industry comes from community. So I love this question, and I love talking about community. I think from experience, right, when I look at Web3 as an industry as of right now, I feel like the one big mistake that Web3 companies and Web3 projects are making when it comes to building their community, and obviously everybody knows this is rule number one, you have to have a community, right?
Yeah.
um, is not knowing your values.
Mm.
And that can be like values of a project, values of your company, values of the team. Like, what is it that you're standing for? What is it? What is your mission? Like, what did you create that project in the first place? What was the mission? For Pudgy, for example, the mission was, we want to bridge Web 2 and Web 3, right? We want to change the traditional business model to expose or to allow our holders to, you know, profit as well alongside us from the growth of the company, right? So what is your values? And I think people tend to forget is, yes, if you want to build a community, some projects are building communities around, potential rewards, financial rewards, right? And we've seen that with meme coins. That's why meme coins are so successful. But then, are meme coins like a long-term success?
Yeah.
No. And so, there are exceptions to the rule. Dogecoin, right? I mean, okay, it's an exception, even though that we can talk about that as well. Um, but long term, you're not going to grow that business. Like, if you are in this game to actually grow a business, grow a company, like move the industry forward, and create a long term revenue stream, then you have to understand and create a community around values, because people join the community for the incentives, but then they stay because of the values, because you have values they can associate with. And that's why Pudgy is so successful, because we went through down markets too, right? The bear market hit everybody,
Everybody.
everybody.
Yeah.
So we were no exception to the rule. But what made us weather the storm and the bot market, and why the reason why now we're like so much stronger, and we have the strongest community ever, is because when those hard times came around, the community, the core fan base, the people that truly believe in purging as being friendly, positive, family oriented, they stayed.
Yeah.
They stayed because they believe in the positive aspect to the company. Because we have like cute characters that just bring joy to people. So, yeah, you have to think about the values.
Yeah.
Values are everything.
Values are everything for sure. Now, the last question here, and we'll shift gears a little bit and leave it for some fun things that we can chat about in our bearish bullish segment to end it, and then obviously bring people up to speed. And what are some interesting things that you can share publicly about the roadmap with Pudgy, but also how people can get involved? But this is something that I really wanted to talk about because you have had an immense amount of success, and a lot of people, we have conversations about handling failure and overcoming difficulties and navigating through problems, but how do you personally handle immense success, and how is your team able to handle all of that? Because as you mentioned, right, it comes very fast. And
Yeah.
does it change who you are fundamentally as a person, and how so?
I think, you know, we tend as humans, and especially if we are like entrepreneurs and startup builders, you tend to prepare yourself for failure, but we rarely prepare ourselves for success,
Yeah.
which I think it's very ironic because you go into it to be successful, not to fail. So it's very funny, but I think the one thing that success will impact you. The fastest it comes, the bigger the impact it will have on you, and it can be positive, but it can also be negative. And we see that every day, right? With people that are successful. And I think for us at Pudgy, the way we managed to make it have a positive impact on us and not, getting our egos inflated and not losing sight of what is important and the vision of the company and the 15, the 20, the 50-year plan for the company is surrounding yourself with people you can count on,
Yeah.
right? The people you are will keep you grounded. And I think that's why, for me, what's something that personally is very important is I work a lot. Like I work so much. My career is everything to me. But I do make a point to take time to spend time with my family and friends because those people ground me, right? In reality. So I think make sure to surround yourself, whether it's within your working environment, having the right team around you, or like within your personal environment, friends, family, things like that. Make sure that those people have a positive impact on you and not a negative impact. They must lift you up, not drag you down.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's a great way to end it on that point. V, honestly, you and I, we could continue to probably chat for another hour here, but I do respect your time. I respect you. And I remember the first time that we chatted, you were like, how did you even find me? And till this day, V, I can't remember what kind of search string I put in or how this all came about, but the universe made it possible for us to connect,
The
and I've
universe.
I've really been really grateful of what you've been able to share with not only me but the audience as well too. And as I mentioned before, whether it's one person that's listening today or a million people, I think that if we're true to the purpose and why we're here, and as long as it resonates with just one voice, right? If it can change just one mind,
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I can go to sleep comfortably knowing that when all is said and done, I try to put the best version of myself forward, and I try to uplift and empower as many people as I possibly can without just thinking about what's in it for me selfishly. So I really appreciate
Yeah.
you, and I think that this has been a delightful conversation. So shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to close out with the segment that we do is bearish or bullish, and there are some topics that I think that would be very easy, and I'm curious to kind of see where these go. But in terms of crypto is back, right? A lot of people have been saying that crypto has never left, or crypto is back, but I feel like crypto has never left. So are you kind of just bearish or bullish on where we currently are when it comes to crypto becoming something that's more mainstream?
I mean, look, I've been bearish since 2012. I'm kidding. I've been bullish since 2012. Look, there's no doubt in my mind that this is the future, and there was no doubt in my mind the first time I read the white paper. I mean, and especially right now that I think we've passed the biggest obstacles, which are you know um, big adoptions or broader adoptions, because now you have the big players that have gotten in, and you have acceptance from the government or from a regulation standpoint, because now we have ETFs. So I think like the ETFs was ETF time for me when we got an Bitcoin ETF was really like, okay, there's no way we're coming back from that. Like there's no turning back. There's no regressing from it. Like there's only moving forward from this, and there's only one way, and it's to the moon at that point. And then the second thing was having all those big institutions investing into crypto and having you know a, like a considerate or like an important part of their portfolio being in crypto. I think that was a big step as well for the industry. But today, obviously, I mean, given the election that we got, and I'm not speaking political here, I'm not political at all, but that was the best candidate we could have gotten for the industry,
Yeah.
right? So I'm very, very, very bullish. Even I think this is the best bullish I've ever been. The most bullish I've ever been so far.
I
Yes,
love it. I love it.
absolutely.
And then also too, as someone that's been able to raise a significant amount of capital, what are your thoughts on just venture capital when it comes to blockchain and crypto? I know that when we were kind of going through this bear market, it was touch and go at times. There were companies that were being
Yeah.
obviously a lot more selective, right? Even some of the top names in the space were starting to be a lot more critical and for cause. So, what's your thought? Are you bearish or bullish on venture capital moving forward?
So when you look at VCs, there are two things they're investing in, and there are two things they got to be investing in. I mean, in a massive way, right? The top two of the investment for end of the year and 2025 at least will be uh, AI. It's just like undeniable.
Hmm.
Just it is a fact. And I think we can all agree that AI will be part of the future for us, whether we want it or not, whether we like it or not. However, it's going to be part of it. Our future, it's going to be part of it. And Web3. And I think, the fact that we now have an ETF, now have a president or like a future president that is going to be pushing for, crypto and pushing for the industry, and having all those, big wealth management companies that have invested considerably into the space, that is just going to make it much easier for not only VCs, but also any type of other investment firms like pension funds, like
Yeah.
endowments,
Yeah.
like large family offices, like any of those large investors that will come into crypto. So I think we had a first wave in 2021 of investment. I think this coming wave 2025 is going to be much much bigger than what we expect, and for the best.
Fantastic, fantastic. And lastly, here, I wanted to talk about what are your thoughts on NFTs moving forward in the metaverse, right? I think that that's something that a lot of people just stop talking about. What are your thoughts on that in the current iteration that they are? Are you bearish or bullish on NFTs in the metaverse kind of collectively?
I think I'm bullish. I think I've always been bullish. Again, like you see, the kind of person, when I believe in it, I'm believing it fully. So
Yeah.
I believed in NFTs when I joined Pudgy. Still gonna believe in it. Is it gonna look the same way? Um, I I think it's gonna evolve, uh, because right now I think there are a few things that are missing to NFTs to make it more appealing to the mass audience, right? It's
Yeah.
appealing to the collectors, to people that understand digital assets, things like that. But it's not appealing yet to the mass audience. So I do believe it will have to be, improved. NFTs will have to be improved for it to be accessible and appealing to the mass audience. So is it going to change? Yes. Is it going to be there? Yes, absolutely. Um, I think metaverse is also, I mean, metaverse is the future for sure. And it's going to be much more uh, broad adoption than I think people think. Metaverse will be completely intertwined with reality. I think metaverse is actually going to be in the future, and I don't know how, you know, quick or like how far off or how far away we are from that, but it's going to be completely intertwined with our reality. Um, so very bullish on both.
Yeah, it's interesting. I recall, watching episodes of Black Mirror and, fast forward some years, it seems like a lot of that's starting to come to reality. So
Mhm.
we are absolutely in an incredible time. But V, our time is up, and I appreciate you once again for sharing your knowledge and your story and being here. And there are some amazing people that I wanted to shout out that are joining us today in this conversation. You could be doing anything in the world, but you've chosen to give your time to us, and that is a beautiful thing. Trisha, we have Dorothy, Mikhail, Starsky, Alexander, Ayush, Zachary, Mohammed, Solomon, Gerda, Luis, Ree, David, and there are some other people here. Roman, I can't see all of your names, but I do know you're here. And I do know the people that continue to show support and are here throughout the good and bad. So I appreciate all of you. And, kind of leaving it out, V, kind of tell folks, is there anything that people should be looking out for that is coming up down the pipeline with Pudgy Penguins? How can people stay in touch? And if they want to learn more, what can they do?
Yeah, so there are a lot coming up for Pudgy. Look up for, you know, Q1 2025, so beginning of the next year. I can't disclose anything, unfortunately, but all I can say is we've got a lot in the pipeline. And it will definitely help the industry. Um, One thing that I would recommend everybody to look into is um, RWA. I think like this is something that is still very, very undervalued,
Mm,
but that's going to be part of our future as well. Uh, so have a look at that. And then one last note, I'll leave this podcast on what one last note is. Well, thank you for everybody that has been staying the whole podcast until the end, listening me rambling. Thank you. I hope I could inspire you to, go the extra mile, believe in yourself. Thank you, Trevor. Thank you, Amanda, for helping putting that together, giving me a voice. And I just leave that on saying this Web3 space has been built and is, you know, a collection of dreamers.
yes.
And this is what this thing is about, dreaming of something that doesn't exist, but we will make it happen. So, just on the last note, I'm going to say if you have a dream, if you're a dreamer, just double down on it. Believe in yourself. And if you are looking for other fellow dreamers, reach out. Web3 is open to you and will welcome you with open arms.
I love it. What a great way to end, V. And, you said let's make this the best episode yet. And I feel like this was a pretty darn good episode. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful day. We'll definitely be in touch. And everyone that joined, have a amazing rest of your day. Look forward to awesome episodes coming at you. Take care. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Take care. Bye, everybody. Bye.